Not muted. Everybody please ensure. Hope that the power doesn't go out. I do feel very like. Ready? I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Education to order. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the Board Secretary on June 25th, 2025 in the following manner. Posted notice on the school bulletin board at the admin building, transmitted to the Courier Post, Philadelphia Inquirer, and the clerk of Cherry Hill Township. Please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Augustine, can you please call the roll?
Dr. Braddock,
Here.
Mrs. Scherfing,
Here.
Dr. Dreisen,
Here.
Mrs. Gallagher,
Here.
Mr. Greenbaum is absent. Mr. Mayor,
Here.
Ms. Palmer,
Here.
and Ms. Stern,
Here.
and Mrs. Winters.
Here. Thank you. We have no board recognition tonight. We have no presentations tonight. I don't believe we have any administrative reports tonight. Correspondence. Do any board members have correspondence for tonight? Dr. Braddock.
I have one since I missed the last meeting. I also, although I wasn't at the actual graduation Cherry Hill East due to having to take care of my daughter, I did have the immense pleasure of walking among the Cherry Hill East graduates with my 1-year-old daughter before they graduated for pictures. And it was my favorite part of being on the board so far. I got the students interact with my 1-year-old daughter. I had her laughing, and it just really showed the quality of student that we have here. So I just wanted to say that although I wasn't on the stage, I was there, and I think I got the better end of the deal getting to engage with the students the way I did.
Thank you. Do other board members have correspondence? Correspondence slows down in the summer. I attended Juneteenth with Mr. Greenbaum, which was awesome. It was actually the day after graduation, so we had to pull it together. Oh, and Miss Stern was there too. And we had a really good time. It was a really nice community celebration. We saw lots of CHEA members, other teachers there, some former CHEA members were there that we were hanging out with. It was a really neat time. And I also attended the similarly rainy 4th of July celebration that the township held with Mr. Greenbaum, representing the Board of Education. Even though we got a little bit rained on, it was still a really nice night to see a lot of familiar faces out in the community. No other correspondence. Okay, then I'm going to move to first public comment. There will be 2 opportunities for public comment this evening. This first public comment section is for board action items only, which tonight are items 17 through 21. If you are a student in the district, you may comment on any agenda item during this first public comment period, and students will be given the opportunity to speak first. If you would like to speak now, please identify the agenda item and clearly state your name and municipality. We will alternate between speakers here in the room and those that are online, and each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The timer on the screen will indicate the amount of time you have remaining. By custom, we start in the room. Are there any students in the room who would like to approach the microphone?
You ready?
Give us 1 second to get your timer up, sir. Sorry about that.
Of course.
Go ahead, we've got it.
I'm Josh Resnick. I am a senior at Cherry Hill High School East. I'm here today not just as a student, but as someone who believes in democracy, dialogue, and the importance of civic participation, which all of you on the board can understand. I have to be honest though, standing here tonight feels more symbolic than impactful. Like many others in this community, I've noticed a troubling pattern. When people speak at public comment, their words are met with silence, no reaction, no follow-up, and very little indication that their views are being taken seriously. There's always the thank you for your comment, you feel heard, moving on to the next person. I understand that sometimes the board cannot respond directly to every comment or question in the setting, and I respect that there are rules and procedures that you must follow. But this isn't just disappointing, it's discouraging. You were voted into these seats by the community members, and you now appear to tune out all of these members. Public comment is supposed to be a space where people can engage with those in power. But when we're met with blank stares, procedural nods, and no dialogue of any meaning, it sends a clear message to students and parents alike. Our voices don't matter. I've always been taught that speaking up, asking questions, and engaging in democratic processes are values we should uphold. But when our local leaders don't really reflect these values, you model disengagement, discouragement, and overall a lack of satisfaction in public government. This is a dangerous lesson. You have the privilege and responsibility of shaping not only policy, but the political culture of the generations and the population around Cherry Hill. When you ignore or dismiss public input, you're not just silencing individuals, you're setting an example that political leadership is closed off, unresponsive, and above all, public accountability. I know that not every opinion shared at this podium will lead to immediate action. In fact, most of what I said will lead to zero action, but people deserve to feel heard. We deserve a board that listens actively, responds respectfully, and shows that public input actually matters. Consider how your conduct shapes trust, civic engagement, and the example you set for students. And I'm not just speaking about what happened recently at the Donaldson hearing, a hearing which occurred after the 4th of July, a weekend in which many people are away, at 4 p.m. on a random Monday, seemingly, well, not so random, 4th of July. And there was only 30 minutes for the dozens of people in the room. I mean, there was no room to stand. There's something like 30 chairs here. There was only room to stand at the end, and people were continuously trying to speak, and all the students and parents alike were just met with that same blank stare, annoyed expressions that there was another person coming up, and no immediate action, no response to anybody. And I really hope that change happens. And I understand in a minute there's going to be no questions, and we're sorry you feel that way.
Thank you for your comment. I'm going to respond. Sir,
Thank you.
you're a student. And so I just want to say that we appreciate and respect you coming up here. But the way that public comment works for Board of Education meetings is very prescribed. And Ms. Gilfillan, if I get it wrong, you can step in. It's not that we don't respond back because we're not hearing you or we don't want to or we're not taking you seriously. It's that that's how public comment at Board of Education meetings work. If you look at other boards of education, public comment is just what it is. It's an opportunity for the public to make comment. It's not a dialogue back and forth with board members. The way that is, it does not indicate that we're not listening, that we don't understand, that we're not up here taking notes, and that the concerns are not addressed. So I'm sorry that that is the way that you felt. I hope that, I mean, I think I speak for all of us board members, is if that's the impression that we are giving, I apologize, but that is simply the way that public comment period works. It is an opportunity for comment. It's not a back and forth between community members and the board. So I hope that explanation makes a little bit more sense. If you want a response from the Board of Education, if you email me as board president or any of the board members, they will forward it to me, or you can email all of us. You will get a response. I respond to every single person, and I make sure to respond to students in a very timely manner. So if you have questions, concerns, or input that you would like a response immediately back, please feel free to email me or any board member, and you will get a response from us. Okay, I hope that clarifies things.
Can I ask a question about general public comment? Is that okay? A very, very quick one.
Go ahead.
Then what's the point of public comment in general? Just seriously wondering, if there's not a response, is it just to get things off your chest? Is that what it is?
No, public comment is for community members to tell the board what they think about things that are related to the business of the school district. So this first public comment section is usually for agenda action items, which we're voting on tonight. So, but for students, we always let you speak at either public comment section. So that's why you're up here now.
Oh.
If you have further questions, I don't want to belabor this, but if I don't want you to walk away from here feeling that you're disrespected or unheard, because if that's what's happening, then that is the opposite of what we want. So thank you for coming tonight. If you have further questions, I encourage you to email me or the whole board, and you will get a response. All right. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give me 1 minute. I'm switching to the online just to make sure. Bear with me. I'm sorry. My computer's being extremely slow. I do apologize. Oh, thank you. Phone number with 788. It is your turn for public comment. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and municipality.
My name is Jeffrey Podowitz. I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 19.3. It's D, 19.3D, Summer Work Labor Management Collaborative. There are probably, okay, and I'm going to say vote no. I'm going to say it twice. There are approximately 60 names that represent all our elementary schools and the Marburg education or the ECC. All right, that's 60 plus. I'm sure there are administrators there and other people, but it's 60 people, and they're going to get that are involved with this in the summer. They are getting relatively small amount of money, but it's there. But there are 60 of them, and I'm going to say vote no on this. If teachers and administrative, I mean, I don't know what happens to the middle schools or the high schools, but 60 people. It's supposed to, this labor management collaborative is supposed to help increase the success for collaborating students, collaborating for student success. So you're doing this for student success. And the NEA, the NGA loves this, and I think you've given lectures and gone to meetings. And the Cherry Hill administrators have. I don't see it really helping teachers. If the teaching helping students, helping administrators, yeah. But students, no. I don't think it's helping the success of students. How does it help the success of students? In fact, I could see in some ways it could be used. You have 60 people plus other people, and you have their colleagues who may disagree with certain things, and in some ways this kind of could shut them down, or a teacher or someone else could be accused of not being collaborative enough and not collaborating with the labor management collaborative because they're all together, or the labor union may not stand up for its membership. I don't really know, but it confuses me and it bothers me, and I really don't think it's helping students, and it's costing money and it's costing time that could be utilized better. And I could see how it could actually hurt certain teachers that may not agree or have some disagreement with the administration. They're not being collaborative. There's also something else, 21.1 and 20.2, comprehensive equity plan. I don't see it where I could read it or anyone could read it. And there's 21.1 strategic plan. I think it would be good if everyone reads it. I don't know. It's really kind of confusing, or I don't think the statistics you'll get are really valid from it, but that's me. But please vote no on this labor management collaborative stuff. It's great for administration. I'm not so great if there's a teacher or administrator who thinks a little outside of the box, because they could be accused of not being collaborative. Thank you very much, and that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Podowitz. Going back to the room, is there any students who would like to comment? Seeing no students. Anyone else who has an action item they would like to comment on, please approach the microphone. I mean, we're all students, right? Perpetual students.
Ann Einhorn, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. 19.1, I'm saddened to see the resignation of Rebecca Metzger and Siobhan Carter. I've heard so many wonderful things out in the community about the turnaround at Beck, so I'm sorry to see her go, but I wish her well in her next adventure. 19.5, Mr. Jarek Heltzman. He has taken a school and turned it around that was ignored and beleaguered for so long with administrative issues. I'm really proud of him and he doesn't even know me. But I get feedback all the time in pediatrics, and the parents especially, who were really not respected for a long time at Johnson, are just absolutely thrilled. So I know many of them are very disappointed. I do need clarification. Is 21.1 still being voted on tonight?
I'm sorry,
21.1 strategic
strategic
planning?
plan. So we are actually going to hold it for further revisions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It needs it.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Going back to the line, the next caller, it says a wider bridge. It's your turn. Please unmute. Give us your name and municipality.
Alana Yaris, Cherry Hill. I can't be on Zoom and look at the agenda at the same time, so I don't know the item number, but I know you're voting on it. The first is Perkin funds. I just question not accepting funds, even federal funds, when the district was cut money from the state. I don't know what the Perkins fund is exactly for, but I do question why the district is turning down money when we have a money problem from the state. And the second are the calendars being voted on. I believe it is the 26-27 calendar or the 27-28 calendar. I like that on the calendars you've added when holidays start, but Passover does not start on Saturday, April 8th of whatever year it is. It actually starts Monday, April 10th, and spring break coincides April 10th to 15th for Passover for that. And then the calendar for the other year, when it's a split Easter Passover break, you give off for Easter on Thursday, Friday, and Monday, and you only give off for Passover on Thursday and Friday. But if people are traveling for family for Seder, they need off on Wednesday so that they can get to their family in time for when Seder starts. So I would look at that to see if you can give that extra day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yaris. You can contact Dr. Mahan if you have questions. Going back to the room, is there anybody else in the room who would like to make public comment on an action item this evening? Action items only.
I'm Sarah Jocelyn. I'm from Cherry Hill. I wanted to thank the board for bringing forward the strategic plan. I know that it has been, at least that what is posted online is a little bit different than it was last week. Thank you very much. And overall, I think it is much improved. I hear from the comments now that you're going to hold it for a few more changes. I do want to recommend that if you are only going to include one page from the portrait of the graduate, that you at least reference the full document, because the full document has a lot of explanation that I think is extremely important. And so I will mention that, of course, the portrait of the graduate was approved by the board earlier as a separate item. I wanted to point out that the foundational attributes are global citizenship and critical thinking. And I want to thank the young people who have come out. And I want to encourage the youth representatives here to make the students more aware about the procedures of giving public comment and also the opportunities of how it actually goes. I thank Josh for coming out tonight and expressing, and you, Mrs. Winters, for making an explanation so that that would be clear for those in the room and those who are online. I think the key attributes that we have in our portrait of a graduate are extremely important, but also the core values. And that is why I express that there needs to be at least a reference to the full document so that people can understand our core values. As we move forward and look at the some final revisions, I do mention as I have advocated in the past, that experiential learning is all types of learning for all grades. And it is not just career learning, although some people are going to want to be that opera singer or that theater person or that whatever it is. My granddaughter has 3 jobs she wants and she's 4. So, but those experiential learnings are beyond career and are part of enrichment and are part of being global citizens. So I encourage you to consider that aspect as well as when you continue to look forward to things. I thank the work of those that were involved in development and the board in their detailed review of this, because of course you get to live with the final document for 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again.
Thank you very much for your comments. I am looking online. I do not see any hands raised online right now. I'm going to go back to the room. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment in first public comment on an action item?
Rick Short, Cherry Hill, action item 19.3. Falls under collaborative. So is there any truth? Or is there any lie? Or is it a scam? Or is it a fad? This district lives in a life of fads and scams. I don't get it with the word collaborative. Do you at night get district iPhone iPod casts that mention the word collaborative millions of times in your heads? You get more excited about the word collaborative, which is just another one of these fads, just another scam. We're wasting money again. Unbelievable. I've only seen one instance that the word collaborative was actually spoken about as being a success. But you will keep pumping the words, the fad words, SEL, diversity, inclusion, the normal fad words.
Mr. Short, which action item are you speaking of? I'm sorry. I can't find it.
19.3. Now on to the
Oh, thank you.
future, the big future plan. Again, we want our student to be globalist. Yeah, that's what we want Cherry Hill School students to graduate. You don't want them to be Americans. You want them to be globalists. And you also want them to be advocates. So it's just this constant advocacy, globalism, everything you don't want to be. You want to be a good American. You don't want to be a globalist. But that's your goal. That is the district's goal. The district's goals is to make social justice advocates that will go across the world and all be about SEL. Amazing. And in the end, who hurts? Who suffers? The children, because you spend thousands of hours on these fads and scams all the time that have no proof to helping education. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. I'm looking back online. I don't see any hands raised online and going back to the room. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to comment on an action item before us this evening? Please approach the microphone. I don't see anybody in the room. I don't see anybody online, so I'm going to close first public comment. I do want to, just because I don't want it to get lost in the shuffle, just to reiterate that we are going to hold agenda item 21.1 tonight was the strategic plan for further revisions. So that action item will not be voted on this evening. It's being held for further revision. We're moving on to the board work session. I am first with curriculum and instruction. Okay, CNI committee met on July 1st at 7 PM, which is our new meeting time. We had an informational session on the nursing services plan where there were several questions brought forth by committee members, Mr. Fain and Dr. Dreisen, for further clarification. We also talked about the M-Class K-5 math screening pilot. There will be 5 schools participating in this pilot program next year. Those schools are Stockton, Payne, Barton, Sharp, and Kilmer. They volunteered to participate, and they were selected based on their volunteering and also on having a diverse group of schools throughout the district. So that's exciting. The M-Class screening is also something that we do for ELA, but this will be for math. So it'll be kind of married to that process. So it'll be good to get that information going forward. The majority of the meeting was based on goal setting, working with the strategic plan. So basically we looked at the priority 1, which is academic achievement. And the committee worked on mapping out with the administration over the next 5 years, which goals belong in which year going forward. The administration presented what they thought that plan should be, and the committee agreed with it. We then, in old business, discussed the books that the committee members had been asked to read. There was one called Rise Up. There was I Am Malala, which Dr. Dreisen reviewed. I reviewed March, which will be an 8th grade reading book. Ms. Sherfain read 2 math textbooks, I believe, cover to cover, and did all the problems. She enjoyed AP Calculus very, very much. And I am thankful she's on the committee, because if you asked me to review a calculus book, it would not go so well. It didn't go well the first time for me in high school, and it wouldn't go well now. And I think that was mostly it. Do any other committee members have anything to add for the CNI report? Do any other board members have questions for the CNI committee about our meeting? It's one of the most fun meetings we've had in a while, actually. I really enjoyed it. So if there are no questions on CNI, I'm going to move on to BNF, and I'm going to kick that over to Mr. Mayor, who subbed in as BNF chair this month.
Thank you, Mrs. Winters. I did have the opportunity to sub in for Mr. Greenbaum. We spent all of our time addressing goals and helping Dr. Morton in fashioning his vision on priorities, on what priorities specifically with priority number 2, operational excellence, on what priorities should be focused upon in the first year, largely around communication efforts. The 2 areas that we spend most of our time on and agreeing that these were priorities that we would like the district to focus on in year 1 were communications and efforts regarding elementary school redistricting, and of course, long-term fiscal responsibility. We did not drill down particularly specifically with regard to that. There was discussion and I think pretty robust discussion about the importance that we felt that the district needed to place on continuing communication with the community and with the board with regard to efforts going forward, specifically with regard to elementary redistricting. If you look at 1 or 2 of the KPIs, one of them specifies launching of communications platform. There was discussion that we felt launching isn't enough. It's important, but there has to be a commitment to ongoing communication with the community so that everyone is aware of what steps are going forward. And a lot of the discussion also centered around the fact that there are going to be ongoing stakeholder meetings and opportunities for the community to participate. So establishing those priorities and agreeing for the most part with where we felt the district and the administration wanted to focus was really where we spent most of our time, all of our time, frankly. If I did not capture those comments, Ms. Gallagher, anything you want to add, please do. We're good, man. That was it.
Thank you very much. There was no HR report this session. that true, Mr. Fain? Ms. Stern, I'm looking in your direction. I don't believe there's an HR committee report. So I'm going to go to P&L, which is also Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, you get a double header today.
Does that mean double board pay or?
Yes,
I guess it
your
does.
salary is now
We know,
doubled.
we know what 0 times 2 is. Yeah, so we had a very good, you don't have to be a math expert to get that one right, right? So we addressed a number of policies, starting with policy 143 on first reading. We actually decided that because there is still some more information that we need to get from former representatives of the board, that we would table that for next month. So we didn't, we recognize the importance of getting that input before we moved forward and decided upon any revisions or additions to the policy. We moved on then to 5111, which is one that has been in the committee for some time, primarily because it is such a dense policy and it required a great deal of crosswalk between, various recommendations and guidance from SBA, and also guidance that is really global, but we are beginning to apply it as we can to individual policies that cautions against the use of what we call orphan language in policies, which is language which may be specifically to Cherry Hill, which does not apply anywhere else. Those sorts of policies become that much more difficult to revise in the future. There may be, rare occasions where something like that is important, but generally that's not the case. We were also advised that it was board counsel's recommendation as well to refrain from using orphan language, and where possible, when we're reviewing policies, if we see that, to pull it out, ensuring at the same time that other requirements that are otherwise important remain in the policy. So we were able to work through that, and we did so. We decided we were in agreement to move to second policy, to move to second reading on 5111. The other area that we discussed, and this was unanimous, and also, and we thank Dr. Morton for providing additional insight, and also, to give us more information with regard to the concept of potentially opening tuition-based students for non-affiliated students. And the determination simply was that the potential revenue that the district would realize in doing so was minimal at best, and likely just would not justify the work that would need in order to put that both not just into the policy, but also to start opening the district to non-affiliated tuition-based students. So the unanimous agreement of the committee was that we would not move forward with that particular concept. Otherwise, we are moving to second reading of 5111, so we'll handle that at our next meeting. We did talk about attendance areas in 8110. There were no additions, no revisions, so we're going to move forward there. Specifically, also management of pediculosis, otherwise known as lice, head lice. No additions, no revisions there as well. School calendars. We did have a discussion, relatively brief, about school calendars. Most of that discussion surrounded the importance of rotating some of the newer recognized religious observances to ensure that that's done in an even and fair manner, which we're going to do. I had an opportunity briefly to take a look at the 27-28 calendar, 26-27 calendar with respect to public comment that we just heard. Public comment was correct in the year 2028. Passover actually begins on the evening of the 10th, which is the first day of spring break. The days that are, as if you were to pull up the calendar, you would see the 8th is the first day off, but that's a weekend day. We can, certainly entertain the possibility of pulling that particular calendar just to make that revision on the sidebar, but it does not affect the days off of school. The days off of school remains the same, whether It's currently listed as September 8 or September 10th. Otherwise,
Mr. Mayor, that's on the action agenda for this evening.
it is.
So what would you recommend as P and L chair?
To make it as clean as possible. Now, I can make the motion at the time.
Motion to divide the
Yeah,
question because
divide the
26,
question to
27.
20.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
correct. So we'll do that at that time. We did have a brief public comment, thank you, with the again, really the importance of keeping the community advised of what was happening and as we move forward with district communications. That was it. Would anyone like to add anything? Yes, Mrs. Stern.
I just have a point of clarification.
Sure.
So the approval that we have on our agenda is for the days, is essentially the calendar that indicates the days. So
Correct.
side information, would that restrict us from passing the calendar, or could that be updated? Information in the sidebar, if that has to be accurately updated for, change the date, that doesn't affect our approval of the days off. So
pr-
does that have to, do we have to divide the question and therefore remove it from, or how does it procedurally? I'm not sure how that works.
So the board actually approves the calendar, not just the days off. So it does approve the calendar. Can you adopt it tonight and then have it subject to change? Yes. I think what Mr. Mayor is suggesting is to pull, rather than having to go back and relook at that, pull it tonight, table it for tonight, just the 27, 28
Correct.
calendar, rework that, and then bring it back once that's been resolved.
Thank you.
All good? Any other questions for P&L? Someone out there has a question for P&L. Maybe that's a vote that we're all good on P&L. Governance did meet, but we were going to wait until the next meeting to have a governance update. That way the minutes are prepared and Ms. Gallagher will then report out from governance. And so it is time to move on to our action agenda. I will begin with CNI. The superintendent recommends and I move the following. 17.1, approval of attendance at conference and workshops for the 25-26 school year. And 17.2, approval of out-of-district student placement for the 24-25 school year. Do I have a second? Ms. Palmer, are there any questions on the CNI agenda? Seeing no questions, Ms. Augustine, please open the voting.
Voting is open. We have a unanimous vote. Voting's closed.
Thank you. Ms. Gallagher. I was looking at you and Mr. Mayor and I couldn't remember what I said. Ms. Gallagher, are you okay with moving the BNF agenda
Yeah, I
tonight?
had just forgotten. The superintendent recommends and I move the following. 18.1, approval of bill lists, 18.2 resolutions, 18.3 resolutions for the award of bids, 18.4 resolution for the award of out-of-district student transportation aid, 18.5 resolution for Perkins funds, 18.6 appointment of food service management company. Are there any questions? Second first, sorry. Do I have a second? Ms. Stern, do I have any questions? Dr. Dreisen?
Yes, thank you. Can we get clarification on 18.5?
The Perkins funds?
Right.
I
It's a good
can't
question.
answer that question. I was curious myself.
I can actually answer that question.
Thank you, Ms.
All right.
Augustine.
The reason that we are not accepting those funds is the district does not offer the course requirements that are needed in order to receive those funds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Augustine.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, can open the vote? Is that what it is?
Voting is open.
Ms. Augustine,
Yes.
I just have to abstain from any payments to Beata on the second bill list due to a conflict of interest. So it's my employer. Thank you.
Ms. Augustine, I'm going to vote no on 18.6.
Ms. Augustine, on bill list number 2, I have to recuse myself from the invoice to ESS to avoid a conflict of interest.
Miss Augustine, I also, on 18.1 on the second bill list, I need to recuse on the payment to Bancroft.
And keep your pen going. I am going to vote no on 18.6 as well.
All right, as a recap, Dr. Dreisen is abstaining from the Beata payment. Mrs. Gallagher is voting no on 18.6. Ms. Sherfain is voting no on 18.6. Recusal on ESS invoice for Mr. Mayor and also the 18.1 Bancroft. Everything else is A's.
Thank you. Mrs. Sherfain, can you please move the HR agenda?
Sure. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following: 19.1, termination of employment certificated; 19.2, termination of employment non-certificated; 19.3, appointment certificated; 19.4, appointments non-certificated; 19.5, assignment salary change certificated; 19.6, assignment salary change non-certificated; 19.7, other motions; 19.8, affiliation agreement. Do I have a second? Mr. Mayor, any questions or comments? Yes, Ms. Stern.
Just wanted to make a comment, a couple of comments, actually. I wanted, first of all, thank Ms. Metzger for her principalship at Beck. You know, I spend a lot of time in the different schools and just hear, you know, I've heard very, very positive feedback from many families whose children are at Beck, for her leadership there, for her significant expansion of inclusion opportunities, and the way that she has approached the special education students, very specifically in that school. And she also, she came in after there was an interim principal for a while. Just been really amazing to see how that school has moved forward under her leadership. So you know, I just want to recognize that, and also recognize Mr. Peltzman for his exciting new position that he'll be taking. And also thank Ms. Carter, who's not here, but for her time in the district that we directly interact with her. So appreciate that. Those are all my comments.
Any other questions or comments? All right, Ms. Augustine, can you open the voting?
Voting is open.
Ms. Augustine, I'm going to recuse from 19.1 and also from 19.3 to avoid conflicts of interest.
Okay, we have recusal on 19.1 and 19.3, and the rest is unanimous.
And with that, I would like to acknowledge Mr. Peltzman, who is here, who has his new position as Supervisor of Curriculum and Instruction here at the Administration Building. Mr. Peltzman, would you like to say something to the board?
Really see my bald spot. It's not my best angle. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the Board of Education, to thank Dr. Morton, thank Dr. Mahan, Mr. Guy, Ms. Staffen, Ms. Mallory, Ms. Parati, I'll just include everybody. 10 years ago, I was sitting in the audience and I was approved as principal of Johnson. I have deep roots in the community. I'm a graduate of Cherry Hill East. My student taught in the district. I taught in the district. I'm raising my girls in the district, and they're going to have the privilege of actually being third generation Cherry Hill East graduates because my mother went to Woodcrest and then Heritage, which became Rosa, and graduated from East. So we have deep roots in the community, and I just really wanted to say how much I appreciate the approval. I was incredibly excited 10 years ago to take over Johnson. I'm just as excited tonight to move into the curriculum department, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to be able to get done. But I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We very much look forward to working with you. Moving on to P&L. Mr. Mayor, can you please move the P&L agenda?
I can, thank you. Before moving the full agenda, though, I'd like to make a motion to divide the question and table item 20.4, which is would be the approval of the not 20.4 in its entirety, but the 27-28 calendar, and replace that on to the agenda for our next meetings.
Second.
Yes, do I have a second? Ms. Sherfane.
So to clarify the motion, board members, just so we all understand, Mr. Mayor and Ms. has motion and Ms. Sherfane has seconded to divide the question for agenda item 20.4. The 26-27 calendar will remain on the agenda for approval. The 27-28 calendar will be tabled. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Board members, please raise your hands if you approve this. Unanimous yes vote. The question is now divided. So when we vote on this, we're voting on 20.4. It'll be 26-27 calendar only. 27-28 will be at a later meeting. How did I do, Ms. Gilfillan? I still got it. Haven't lost it.
Fun with Robert's Rules 101. Moving on, the superintendent recommends and I move the following. Item 20.1, approval of harassment, intimidation, and bullying investigation decisions. Those are the ones which the board heard on June 24th. Item 20.2, approval of comprehensive equity plan and statement of assurance for the academic years 25-28. And before moving on and requesting that the vote be open, I will turn to Dr. Morton, who I know is available online, just to give some additional information with regards to that equity plan. The plan itself is essentially a compilation of the district's policies to assure the Department of Education in New Jersey that the district does follow all these plans for equity and assurance of academic years. But I think it would be helpful for board members to hear directly from Dr. Morton a little bit more information with regards to that. But moving on, we'll also ask for a vote on the approval of the 25-26 calendar. That's item 20.3, item 20.4, approval of the 26-27 calendar. So before asking for questions, and even asking for a second, Dr. Morton.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, so I don't have to ask if you're there. We now know that you are. Dr. Morton, would you just give us a little more information, background, and some specifics with regards to the comprehensive equity plan and statement of assurance?
Absolutely. So your description was perfect. The beginning of that description in terms of what the equity plan is. Essentially, it's a compilation of district policies that align with the state statute or state code around managing for equity in education. So specifically, just to extract the piece that's most pertinent this evening, there's responsibilities for every district board of education across the state of New Jersey. And specifically, it states that each district board of education shall adopt and implement written educational equity policies that, one, recognize and value the diversity of persons and groups within the community and promote the acceptance of persons of diverse backgrounds, regardless of the protected categories listed in, there's a policy listed there. In addition to that, to promote equitable educational opportunity and foster through the policies, programs, and practices of the district's Board of Education, a learning environment that's free from all forms of prejudice, discrimination, harassment, intimidation based upon categories found within the policy itself. So the district has policies that allow us to do just that. Again, the comprehensive equity plan is a 3-year plan that states or points directly to the specific policies that allow us as a district to be in compliance with this code. Once this is approved by the Board of Education, we then send it on to our executive county superintendent. If we do not send it to the executive county superintendent as an approved plan that shows that we're in compliance with the state code, we are subject to sanctions by the Commissioner of Education. So, any questions?
Mr. Stern.
2 questions, if I can. One is does being in compliance possibly affect our QSAC rating? Does that have an impact on our QSAC rating, whether or not we're in compliance?
I believe it could, but further than that, I think more important, again, there could be sanctions that are placed upon the district. Ms. Gilfillan probably could speak more to what those sanctions may be. I'm unfamiliar with districts who fail to comply with state code.
Yes, but it's totally different. So I don't know if you want to stick with this one. Or...
So the sanctions would be in the form of withholding of state aid. So as we know, your state aid numbers get cut every year. This is an additional cut that they can come after and get you for that. I will agree with Dr. Morton. I don't know of any school districts that have been sanctioned because they all passed their equity plan.
Okay, so we might be the first if that were to happen. But thank you for mentioning that. Second question was, Dr. Morton, could you speak to equity has a generic sense of what that means. I think the common sense of what that might mean or would become. Could you speak to what is equity? What groups are included in equity? The equitable in terms of equity. Who are we trying to make sure that we provide education to? Maybe some that are not traditionally thought of.
So so I guess there's 2 separate things. In the sense of this plan here, this plan really is a reflection of the policies that currently exist within Cherry Hill Public Schools already. So we have policies that actually cover or ensure that we are aligned with the state's definitions for equity. There are groups that are listed within here. Demographic groups by racial category, groups by sexual orientation, groups by identification. The Holocaust education curriculum or mandate to teach Holocaust education, the Amistad Commission curriculum is embedded within this policy as well. There's, again, separate things, a definition of equity and what we believe and how that aligns with who we serve within our community is one thing. But this plan here in particular really is about the policies that currently exist and ensuring that we align with the state code. And again, the policies already exist within the district. So that's what essentially allows us to be in compliance. This CEP or Comprehensive Equity Plan is really just a compilation and a reflection of the policies as they align to each one of the equity standards that exist.
Mr. Sherfine.
According to state guidance, regulations, whatever the word is, when is this due to be approved for the state? Like, is there a time limit to when?
I believe
there is a time limit. I know there's a window of time that we have to get it to the county superintendent. I'd have to go back and get that exact date for you, Ms. Shafane. I couldn't answer it off the top of my head.
Okay.
See, Mrs. Gallagher.
Well, to further along what you're saying is, when did we receive this document to review?
Yeah, I mean, I
So
was asking to clarify,
Yeah.
for sure. I guess I forgot that we're in the actual voting section of this and to continue comments. What was that? Oh, so the reason why I was asking that is I feel like another question that was asked potentially could, how I vote would insinuate that I'm disagreeing with policies or terms that are relevant to the situation. To clarify my own vote for this, in good faith, for me to vote on something, I'd like to just be able to review it in an adequate amount of time. I trust that we're being equitable with the way that we deliver education in the district. That is not a concern of mine. I would not vote no on something. In this case, I'm not voting for this. The way that I will vote for this will not be because I disagree with this or think that something is wrong or that we're not doing something. I just need to have an adequate amount of time to review the things that I'm voting on.
Mrs. Gallagher.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to point out is if there's no due date, what's the harm in tabling it so that we do have an adequate amount of time to review it? That's what
And that too.
Thank you. Because we did receive it today. If it's not due tomorrow, then we should be able to review it prior to voting on it with adequate amount of time. And if we could table it until the next meeting, which would give us 2 weeks to review it, then I think all of us will feel comfortable voting on it. Just however people vote, but we would feel comfortable with our votes so that we have the time to review it. That's all I'm saying. So I would like
If I can just interrupt
make a
for 1 second, I'm actually looking up the date now. I believe it's due to the county superintendent. So if we don't get it to the county superintendent, within this 60-day window, then we could be subject to the various sanctions. Again, this plan, we have had this approved in years past. It's really no different. The policies themselves currently exist. So I guess if there's questions about things, it would be the policy that we would want to take a look at and change the policies around equity.
Oh, Dr. Dreisen.
Thank you. And so, yeah, just in the spirit of this discussion, I would, if we understand the timeline, I'll plan to abstain tonight, just in terms of the precedence of having an opportunity to review plans before we vote on them. But I don't want to get in the way of us approving if there's a timeline. So my understanding is an abstention doesn't affect the vote then.
But what's the 60 window?
Yeah, and so again, yeah, so as I look at the dates, the plan was actually due to the county superintendent by our last meeting. We didn't have a motion, board motion, in order to move the plan forward. So we needed to make sure we had the motion or the resolution approved in order for the county superintendent to be able to move it forward.
So we're late already. So
We are.
just
We
2
are.
weeks. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't want to vote on something I haven't had actually time to review. So.
Well, if there's a motion to table, then we need to entertain
So
that motion.
we do. I did not hear a motion to table yet, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to clarify. You made a motion. Did you get a second? I don't believe you did yet. I think you made a motion and moved to the P&L agenda. And then we asked Dr. Morton for clarification.
Oh, right. You haven't moved the agenda.
He did. I think
He moved it.
I did move
the
the
superintendent
agenda.
recommends, and I move the following. He used that language. Then he asked Dr. Morton for clarification. Ms. Gilfillan, there's a motion and not a second on the floor yet. What is the procedure here?
Without a second, you cannot vote the motion.
So
Is there a
process
second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stern.
wise, there's a motion and a second on the floor for the P&L agenda.
Correct. And if there was to be a motion to divide I'm sorry, or to table, I apologize. That motion would take precedent. You'd have to vote that motion.
Ms. Gilfillan, a point of clarification.
Yep.
So at this point, would it be a motion to divide the question, or would it be a motion to table agenda item 20.2?
It would be, I believe what I heard was a motion to table.
Yeah, that's what I said. A motion to table 20.2 to the next meeting to give adequate time to review.
Ms. Gallagher has a motion on the floor to table agenda item 20.2. Is there a second for that motion? Second, all members in favor of the motion to table agenda item 20.2 the next meeting signify by raising your hand. No, there's an active motion on the floor. You cannot ask a question, correct, Ms. Gilfillan?
That's correct.
The motion proceeds. All those opposed, please raise your hand. The majority has it. We move back to the previous motion. The motion on the floor is the P&L agenda. The second was Ms. Stern.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, Ms. Augustine, would you open the voting?
Voting is open.
Ms. Augustine, I'm going to abstain from 20.2.
I will also be abstaining from 20.2.
I will as well.
No, I'm getting these.
I don't see the voting yet. Ms.
I
Augustine.
think it's slowing down again.
It's not open.
I don't see the voting. yet.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Check
up.
now.
It's just up. Yeah. Yeah, now it's up.
Ms. Augustine, I'm having some technical difficulties. I'll vote yes.
Okay.
Board members, Ms. Gilfillan is asking me if we want to do a voice vote to make sure that everybody's accurate, or are you guys feeling comfortable with what we're doing right now? Ms. Augustine, can you read out what we have?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have, the motion would be, because we've tabled item 20.4 for the calendar for 2027, 2028. So that's, the rest of the items would just include the 2026, 2027 calendar on that one. And then we have 3 abstentions on 20.2 from Ms. Sherfain, Dr. Dreisen, and Ms. Gallagher. And everyone else has voted yes on the items.
The motion carries. I feel like I'm getting a Robert's Rules workout tonight. I told you guys I was pretty good at this part. So, and just to reiterate, just so that everybody's on the same page here, we're holding agenda item 21.1 for a future meeting. The board requested more time for review and the administration agreed to hold that item.
Just a point of clarity.
Yes.
I just want to confirm that it's okay to just remove that without making a motion to remove that.
Yes, Dr. Morton actually advised me prior to the meeting that it was being administratively withdrawn. We didn't have sufficient time to make the change to the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, usually if the board and the administration agrees, it's just it's easier to have it pulled from the agenda. If we did not agree and we wanted to pull it from the agenda, then we would need to make a motion in a second. But there's concurrence. Yes, I am getting a workout tonight. All right, nothing under governance this evening. Do any board members have new business? Can any board member come up with a really complicated motion? Ms. Gallagher.
Mine is not complicated. It's just a scheduling announcement. I don't think it's been announced that committee meetings are moving to Mondays.
That's an excellent point.
Yes, so starting in August, so that people, because many people in the room come to committee meetings, just so everybody knows we have a month to prepare.
Thank you. And just to clarify, this was a request by the administration to move to Monday meetings. This the board agreed with because it gives more time for things to be processed in a timely manner. minutes and things like that. So we are working with, now the crazy thing is that if you look at the calendar for the rest of the year, there are some like holiday Mondays, and then there's committee of the whole in December. So it really does, it's challenging. There are some, like I said, there's holidays coming up. So we're going to work through it and see if this works better for everybody moving forward. But the calendar, the district calendar will be updated to reflect the most current things. And they will be going out in the emails that come out from the district. I believe we're doing postcards in the summer because we're feeling summery, but then back to the weekly emails on Sunday nights in the fall so that everybody's updated in our committee meetings. Do any other board members have new business? Dr. Dreisen.
Thank you. Potential new business. I shared this with the board already. Just wanted to share it here in the public context. Building off of the graduation commencement enthusiasm, I just thought, as many of us may have seen in the news, Newark School District did something pretty intriguing, I thought, which was rewarding graduates with contracts to return as teachers. If they went to school, decided they want to do teaching, and then come back. So when we think about innovative ways to address staffing shortages and inspire, we talked last meeting about some exciting partnerships potentially with Rutgers. I just wanted to call that out here. Maybe it's something that can be discussed in the HR committee or elsewhere, but something for us to look into more, I think.
That's awesome. Thank you. Really neat idea. Any other board members with new business? Any other board members, any board members have old business? Mr. Fain.
I don't know if you would consider this under correspondence. I'm not really sure where it would fall, but it's like technically old business, maybe communications now that we have a committee for that. I was spending the meeting reflecting on one of the comments earlier about transparency and responding to people. And I'm looking at my entire notebook filled with notes on comments that have been made in public comment between first and second public comment. And for my own sake of transparency, will admit that a lot of this just stays in my notebook. I think that there's plenty of things that are addressed through other avenues and conversations and things like that, but there is definitely things that have been brought up that I know to be, open about it. I don't know that I've pushed forward with a lot of these things. So I'm wondering, and I'm challenging us as a board to maybe through communications is to look on how, I know Ms. Winters, you respond to every email that is sent across. I absolutely can verify, well, at least the ones that I'm included onto that I can actually verify that you sent. But I know that there is a response to emails, but I'm sure that there's plenty of community members that have the same questions and comments and concerns. And in sake of all of the work that our administrative team is doing to improve communications and combat a lot of information that's maybe, I don't want to say misinformation, because I think maybe just misinterpreted or not fully understood things that are happening in the district. I challenge us as a board to look and to really analyze how we as a board can better address common themes in public comment and concerns, because it's knowing the amount of work that goes into what we do and it being incredibly frustrating that you can't just comment on the things that are said at that microphone and to just clarify and to make people understand that we're not horrible people, even though sometimes sometimes it might seem like we are. I'm not sure, but I know that many of us feel that way, and there has to be a better way for us to get information out, to communicate things, and to show people, like you were saying before, to show people that we're actually listening, because there are so many conversations that do happen, even if it's just a, hey, like I had this idea or whatever between us in other places or whatever. It's not as a board, but like just one-off conversations. I definitely feel like it is our responsibility to figure out a way to better address especially common themes that are brought to the microphone. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Ms. Gallagher, but I think that you had a really good idea at some point. And this is why I said maybe this is more of a correspondence spot. I know that there are other boards in this school district that respond to common public comments through that correspondence time. So maybe that is a good place, or communications, if once it gets on the agenda as a report out for that committee, maybe that's a good place that we can just clarify things that we're saying, because like I said, I'm looking at this notebook that's filled with words and things that I write down, and I'm always thinking like, oh, how can we do that better? And just because of the hustle and bustle of the responsibility of this board, I feel like at least I can be, and I feel like we as a board can be doing a better job of addressing some of that stuff.
I completely agree with you. Dr. Braddock.
Yeah, I completely agree as well. Like I sit here as Dr. Braddock of communication when you can't answer. It is incredibly frustrating to not be able to answer and let people know what we are doing and we are hearing them and working on them. Something that I think that would help me, and I don't know if it would help other people as well, is as we move forward with our efforts to communicate transparently with the public in whatever form that takes, would be a way to have what we as board members are allowed to do and not allowed to do in terms of communication with the public in some place where I can just find a list of what I can do and a list of what I can't do. Because I don't know if other board members do it. My default is if I get an email, I forward it to the president of the board or to the superintendent. And it'd be good to know if there are options where we can engage in some cases or where it's appropriate to do so. Because for me, I default on the side of safety as I was trained to do at our training. But it would be cool to be able to engage with the public in ways that we can tell them we do hear them and we do want to implement the kinds of solutions to the problems and the concerns they have.
So I just want to address that very quickly. There are boards that will allow, if in fact the administration is ready to address a question that was, or a comment that was raised, the administration will go forward and say, I'm happy to address that for you. I'm happy to address that for you, if in fact they are prepared to do that. Sometimes you have new things that are brought to the board that need to be vetted through the administration. So I understand your point, Mr. Fain, but really that is within administration's area. So I think your discussion or your concerns would be directed to Dr. Morton, saying, this was brought up in, public session. Is there a way that we can address that?
Just, I thank you for that. Cause I think what I wasn't really articulating before was my thought was putting this to paper and sending it. And then at a future date, not necessarily in that given time and moment, but like at a future date to make sure that it doesn't feel like we're just randomly writing notes down and it's going nowhere. But thank you. Cause I think that is a very good, it's important to actually identify that. Thank you.
Any other board member comments on this discussion? I will say that I think that there's an overall theme of better communication. I think with the hiring of our excellent public information officer, Ms. Barati, and strategic communication plan, we've come far. But I think one of the open questions that the board continues to grapple with going forward is what is the board's role in communication? And I think to Dr. Braddock's point, I think in a lot of ways, the board is constrained. Individual members in communicating, we're certainly constrained with communication on social media and those channels where a lot of the conversation seems to be happening. And that can be frustrating. But I think it would be really good if we could, maybe through the communications committee, kind of talk about what we can and what we can't do. Because it is difficult, I think, when people see us not responding to certain things, we're tagged on Facebook or whatever, we actually can't. The board president gets the privilege, sometimes the burden of trying to speak for the board, to speak with the voice of all 9 of us. I do try to respond to every single email I receive, but as my children tell me, emails are for old people and nobody emails anymore. So I think, as the world continues to change and evolve, I think it's a challenge for us moving forward to make sure that concerns that are raised to us are addressed by administration as is their purview in proper manner. Dr.
So
Braddock.
I hear you want a Board of Education Snapchat? Is that what you're saying?
I
That
I
is
would
not a
never
motion.
conduct any Board of Education business on my cell phone because it would be improper, Dr. Braddock. we just got Ms. Gilfillan in. Please do not give her a heart attack.
Welcome to the board, Ms. Gill.
We told you we'd be fun. Is there? I would as well. Is there any other topics in old business? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to second public comment. We are on the second public comment period. This is second public comment section for any topic. If you would like to speak now, please identify the agenda item and clearly state your name and municipality. I will alternate between speakers in the room and those that are online, and each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The timer on the screen will indicate the amount of time that you have remaining. Give me 1 minute, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the community to comment on matters relevant to the operations of Cherry Hill Public School District or within the authority of the Cherry Hill Board of Education. The board welcomes diverse opinions on relevant matters. Under established federal law governing reasonable restrictions on speech and public forum, statements which demean individual community members or groups or which are irrelevant to the operations of the school district or repetitious will not be permitted. Community members who would like to present information not relevant to the school district are always welcome to communicate directly to the district superintendent, board president, and all board members via email or other alternative means. With that, I will open up second public comment. We start in the room as is by custom. If there's anybody in the room who would like to approach the microphone for second public comment, please do so now.
And I'm here in Cherry Hill. So I'm a little concerned about this discussion on the vote for the equity plan this evening. Could we not have asked the county commissioner for an extension so that people would have time to look at the document? And I really think it's inappropriate to ask board members who are also volunteers to vote on a document without adequate time to read it. As many of you know, I'm a previous board member. I would never have voted on something that I got the day of. Because there's always at least one question, particularly with me. I would like to know, when was last night's board meeting advertised? And wasn't it possible to send out an email for us old people, okay? Or something
Me
on your
too.
Facebook page, a warning? I thought you had community communicators. I saw nothing. Very disappointed in that. I will say, I do agree with the student tonight that I have questions from last December that have yet to be answered. I asked a question in May, I believe, about how many minutes of Spanish instruction do our students receive? It was never answered. And I always thought that the administrative team to the left was there to help the superintendent field some of these questions. And for God's sakes, people, that should have been an easy one to be answered. It was not. Maybe in your quest for better communication, if you have questions that can be answered, put it on the website. Last night's questions. Not everybody comes to these meetings, which you're probably blessed, but you know, it's really frustrating from last December to still not have an answer. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not writing you a letter, Gina. I'm just not. I come here for a reason. I present myself as a member of your public. Okay, and I would like the public to know what I'm asking and to know what response that I'm getting so that there's no miscommunication on the response. We do ourselves no service if we don't answer questions, or if the questions are answered one-on-one. I don't want to be relied on to be the deliverer of the answer to that question. I just don't think it's fair. On a completely different note, I am very concerned with Washington's antics about denying more federal funds, particularly that will affect our educational amounts from the state of New Jersey, because we're a sanctuary state. And I don't know if Ms. Augustine is aware of that, but we need to be very mindful of what's happening. Has Governor Murphy even sent out a statement to you as a board and as a district as to a concern regarding that? And it is a huge amount of money. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Going online, the first person with a hand raised, it simply says iPhone. iPhone, it's your turn. If you can unmute, give us your name and municipality.
Laurie Neary, Cherry Hill. A couple comments this evening. One, I'd like to wish Miss Metzger all the best. I'm very sorry to see that she'll be leaving. She's made a lot of great changes at Beck and done a lot for the disability community. So we will definitely be sorry to see her leave. To second a bit of what Miss Ann Einhorn was stating on the equity plan conversation, I definitely am concerned if board members don't have time to review the information ahead of a vote and then feeling pressured to make a vote. Rather than doing that, I would rather see a vote tabled before failing to be compliant with state law when the governing body for Board of Education is the New Jersey legislature, and the ramifications of failing to follow law could be great. So I definitely would like to not see that happen in the future. And I'm also concerned when we're looking at equity plan. You know, I was relieved to see the conversation shift because it being Disability Pride Month, I continue to remain concerned about the equity for our community. It is the largest minority group in the world that anyone can become a member of at any time. So I remain humbled and hope that we continue to focus on equity. And for the students that came out last night speaking in support of Dr. Maurer, you know, there were quite a few students that came out from our neurodivergent community to make their voice heard. And I am proud of all the students that spoke to have their voice heard. That is a loss, but I'm very proud for any student that made their voice heard. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Going back to the room, is there anyone who would like to come to the microphone for second public comment?
Rick Short, Cherry Hill. You guys seem to be having a lot of problems with communication. I mean, do you realize that you are protecting the most radical school district in the state of New Jersey? I find it amazing that an opinion piece comes out from the Carrier Post about Jewish hate and how the district blew it. And members of this board who I've called upon, even in a video, that have talked about how they were so concerned about anti-Semitism, and they understand it, that they would allow consultants like Dr. Love and the Abolitionist Network to work at Cherry Hill West, a woman that hates Jews, obviously. But this is our radicalism, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. And none of you board members stand up for it. Dr. Braddock mentioned in a public meeting that he can identify radicalized people. But it's truly amazing that Dr. Braddock cannot identify Dr. Love, Dr. Kinde, Dr. Muhammad. Quite funny, isn't it? Yeah. Yep. You know what else is quite funny? How this district plays with race. I want to read you a quote from Dr. Mahan. The graduation course was desperately needed in Cherry Hill, a predominantly white district, to address systemic racism and implicit bias by staff and students. It's truly amazing that if you go to the Cherry Hill Mall, there isn't that much, you know, there's like no systemic racism. There's no hate. The only hate is coming from this Morton administration that just feeds. That's what gives them power. That's what gives this district power, ladies and gentlemen. Racism. Yep. And that they did not comment on that or apologize. And they will not comment on Rutgers University report from November of 2024. How Dr. Kinde and Dr. D'Angelo cause more hostile environment. And I haven't even got into implicit bias yet. And what I learned on April 8th about what Mr. Guy said about how we need implicit bias training, more of it. Don't you understand, board members? You're making history here, ladies and gentlemen. You are, because you're not protecting our children. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Going back to the line, next person is a caller with phone number ending in 788. It's your turn. Please unmute and give us your name and municipality.
My name is Jeff Potterwitz. I live in Cherry Hill. Boy, this is not what I was going to talk about. Let me go with something that I talked about that I mentioned 3 years ago, policy 100. Anti-racism, fine with everything except for one thing. Since this is, all right? The board commits the school district to promote the success of Black, African American, and Hispanic Latinx students, and also Indigenous people, Pacific Islanders, and Asian students. Fine if you left it there. However, in parentheses, i.e., students have a racial identity other than white. Got it? Still your policy. I guess you all consider that a definition of equity. Commit to the success, promote the success of all these other students, i.e., students have a racial identity other than white. I read that article in a Courier Post. I saw it too. It's also in the Asbury Park Press. I saw it there too. I guess you all really believe this and consider that equity. Because 3 years ago I asked you, will you please remove that? Because I asked, I'm Jewish, and a lot of people don't consider us white. And now I'm reading, we're whiter than white, actually. So please remove that. One little section, because that's your definition of equity. Let's get something straight too. Right now we're getting $28 million in state aid. It's going to be reduced to $18 million for 2026, 2027. We are in trouble. Talk about that. How we're going to lose at least $10 million. And the state is losing $143 million in aid. All right. How will that affect us? Will they decrease our aid more to make up for that loss of 143 million or how much? That's some concern. But that's your definition of equity, unless you just remove it. And of course, is that the state's definition too? Does the state believe what you wrote in that policy 2100? That little part, that's it. Thank you for listening, but you haven't done anything. It's still there, even with that article in the Asbury Park Press, an opinion piece. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for your comments, Dr. Podowitz. Going back to the room, is there anyone in the room who would like to make second public comment? Please approach the microphone.
Sarah Jocelyn, Cherry Hill. I was very concerned about the unacceptable time frame for an item that needed to be voted on. I will tell you that I looked today, I did not see that plan, but I looked very quickly at the agenda. I would have read that because that is an important document for the district. I will mention also that the very first time I gave public comment at the State Board of Education, the topic was management for equity in education. So I will just tell you, I don't know where they are in the review process now, but there were substantial changes made over time. And at one point, they had a lot of definitions in it, and some of them have evolved, let's put it that way. So when you're looking at this, please be sure you're looking at the correct, what the guidance that is current. For understanding. I also believe that when you're managing for equity in education, it is beyond the students. It is the staff, the teacher, the administration. It is everyone. And there are certain responsibilities that have an identified person with accountability. So I just remind you that there are details within this that need to be visible to you as board members. I do also want to thank Ms. Einhorn for bringing up the issue of the funding pause, let's call it that, and the pause on funding for review. This is a concern. This is a concern that we have as a district, as a state, as things are evolving. I realize we don't have answers right now, but we certainly have students that need to have that kind of aid. And we need to follow the issue and be advocates in the issue as things move forward. I do want to say that it's extremely important to give our students of all backgrounds, but English language learners, people with other needs, we have our tiered support. And I know that certain students need summer support. And so it's very important for the board to be aware this is summer and this is the time. So anyway, I want to thank the board. I know you have a lot to wrestle with. I recognize our young people who are here, who are hearing a lot and learning fast. And we just appreciate the fact that they are gaining the input and a public debate and an awareness of the population that we have, which includes a wide diversity of opinion. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comment. Going back online, the next caller is A Wider Bridge. A Wider Bridge, it's your turn. Please unmute and give us your name and municipality.
Alana Yaris, Cherry Hill. I was calling to speak about the National Education Association vote that happened this week in Portland, Oregon. But because of previous public commenters, I fear that they no longer feel comfortable doing so publicly, and I will email you instead. So never mind. Thank you, though.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anybody else in the room who would like to make second public comment? I don't see anyone in the room. Going back online, I don't see anyone online who would like to make second public comment. So I'm going to close second public comment and turn it over to you, Dr. Morton, for superintendent's comments.
Thank you very much, Ms. Winters. I'd just like to thank everyone for their comments this evening, particularly our students. You know, as I reflected on the comments made by a student this evening, I also reflected on just this past week. We had a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the 4th of July. And, you know, personally, the Morton family had an outstanding celebration with many different peoples. And, you know, it's important for us to understand and recognize that the celebration of Independence Day itself is a recognition and a celebration of the freedoms that we have as members of this great country, you know, the greatest country in the United States that exists in the world. A few of those freedoms in particular, free speech, free right to petition the government, speak out, you know, and express one's opinion, the freedom to vote are freedoms at times that, you know, I hope we don't take for granted because they aren't afforded to everyone else. Now, along with those freedoms means that while we have the freedom to express ourselves and the freedom, you know, to vote and free speech, that which we advocate for or which we communicate around might not come to fruition because everyone else has those same freedoms and same rights as well. Cherry Hill Public Schools, you know, as of this moment, has 10,666 students enrolled rather in the school district. So while we may hear a vocal few who express opinions, there's others who express their voices, their opinions as well, and we tend to take into account all of the opinions, all of the perspectives, all of the you know, the ideas from all of our community members, and we try to make decisions that are in the best interest of our community as a whole. But we are the largest school district in South Jersey, absolutely huge district, and we value the perspectives of our community. We want people to come forward. We want students to learn. Democracy doesn't mean necessarily getting your way, but it means that you have freedoms and rights to express yourself and to advocate for what you believe. And we have an obligation to listen to and to work with you. And that's exactly what we do, and we stand on that. So it's important. I wanted to put that into public record. Just want to say congratulations to Ms. Carter. And thank her for her efforts, Ms. Siobhan Carter. As you know, she announced her resignation today. Thank you so much to Rebecca Metzger. I've had an opportunity to work very closely with Rebecca Metzger for many years, and I can't echo and amplify enough what Ms. Stern and everyone else had to say about her. She's done truly a phenomenal job in every role that she has had within the district. Congratulations to Mr. Peltzman. Mr. Peltzman has been absolutely an amazing principal. I've watched him closely, as you know, in his career as he's ascended from teacher over at Clara Barton up to principal at Johnson and principal outside of the district as well. And you know, coming back, I'm certain that he will have a tremendous impact on our central office team. We will make sure that his successor is just as outstanding as he is for the Johnson community as well. Summer activities are moving forward in our schools. There's a ton of construction that's taking place in many of our buildings. So we're excited about that. We're excited to see the construction projects come to fruition as we move forward throughout the summer. I just want to send another reminder to our students. Now is a great time to be fully immersed in your summer reading assignments and your summer reading books. If you have not begun yet, now is a great time to get started. For those who have already started, let's keep it going. And let's go full steam ahead. With that, I'll say have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Morton. I read one of the summer reading books on the beach over the weekend. Never Let Me Go. One of the high school dystopian books. It was excellent. Really liked it. I would like to make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Dr. Braddock, all those in favor of adjourning signify. The ayes have it.